Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. The Full Time podcast is presented and powered by 91 Network. You're listening to Season 5, Episode 26 of Full Time. I'm your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Full Time Podcast is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their two locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The Full Time Podcast is also sponsored by Sioux Sports. To check out Sioux Sports and all of their articles, announcements, and streaming platforms, including True Host Media and True North Radio, visit SiouxSports.com as well as Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi weekly as well. Folks, we are beyond ecstatic to welcome you here to Full Time with us, where we get to have a conversation about the sport that connects us all. G, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. A little tired. Had the first bonfire of the year last night, but outside of that, I'm doing great. Woke up, watched a bit of footy. Still a bunch going on actually, which is fantastic. But how are you doing this morning, Scarps?
Dude, I'm doing mighty fine. I just got back from the Nipissing Invitational a mere 24 to 36 hours ago, and just resetting, recouping. But super happy that I'm here with you, and the footy very much continues. In today's show, we will discuss Europe's Big Five, the FA Cup, the Champions League, and the Europa League. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on all platforms of 91 Network. And without further ado, Gitano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We get started with Europe's Big Five, and we will kick things off with the Premier League. The lone race for the title is officially over. Liverpool are Premier League champions. Gitano, we'll talk about the race for the top five shortly, but first let's talk about Liverpool. They've had an outstanding season under Arne Slot in his first season in charge. They win the title with 4 games to spare, and they did so quite convincingly. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I can't say I expected this in the slightest, and not just in terms of like how like kind of a one horse race it was for most of the year. I think everyone kind of expected a few more challengers to really push, but just in his first season for Arne Slot to get this Liverpool team that were kind of they almost felt like they were in transition last year. Like it felt like it was going to be a little bit of a longer time before they were challenging for a title. But just to turn them around the way that he did, just in the short space they did, and really with no major hiccups, like not even like minor hiccups that I can think of. We joked about we were waiting for the bubble to burst, and it just kind of never did. So it was just frustratingly impressive to watch, if we're going to be totally honest. Obviously, I think a couple of the teams around them could have challenged a little better. Your Arsenal, my City, definitely could have done a lot more this year, but can't take anything away from this Liverpool team. Super impressive and super deserved Premier League title win.
Yeah, totally deserved. And like you said, no hiccups. The only hiccups really were the contract situations with the likes of Trent Alexander Arnold, Van Dijk, Mo Salah, these sorts of things. But from a footballing sense, you never heard a whisper of anything. And that's a sign of a team that's very much together. But you take a look at that roster, that's a team that's been around the block and know how to do these sorts of things. So it doesn't surprise me that they won. It wasn't something that I expected that they do it in the fashion that they did. But at the end of the day, they totally deserve it. So Liverpool, Premier League champions. And the race for the top five is as tight as you'd like it. Arsenal is second with 67 points. Newcastle is third with 66 points. Manchester City is fourth with 65 points. Chelsea, Aston Villa, and Nottingham Forest are all battling for the final Champions League place. G, your thoughts on the top five race?
Yeah, it's been really poor if we're going to be totally honest. City dropping points, relegated Southampton, one of the worst Premier League teams of all time. Southampton yesterday. Um, the Arsenal losing today, or looks like they're going to be losing today. They're down right now. Just Nottingham Forest sliding all the way out of European places when they were basically third for the entire season. Just a real lack of quality, really. from these contending teams, which kind of makes it fun because you have, there's no guarantees of what's going to happen. Like City absolutely should have destroyed Southampton 9 or 10-0 yesterday. We get a goalless draw. Like it's for entertainment value, not terrible, but for the actual quality of the football being played in the Premier League right now, it's like pretty shockingly low.
Yeah, totally agree. You said that, I would say, perfectly well, and I'm not exactly sure what's happened in the last third of the season here with the teams outside of Liverpool. But again, there's been a drop off. Certainly makes it more entertaining, but from a quality point of view, not necessarily what we would have expected. And in the relegation zone, the next and final club that has confirmed their relegation to the championship next season is Ipswich Town. Ipswich can no longer gain enough points to stay up in the Premier League, so they will be going down to England's second tier come August. Gitano, for a second straight season, the three promoted sides to the Premier League have all been relegated in their subsequent season. Why is this the case?
Um, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors. I think the style. So I'm gonna use Vincent Company's Burnley as an example. Like in the championship, they played. They got like 100 and something odd points. Like barely lost the game. Played this beautiful, attractive, expansive attacking football. You can't do that in the Premier League with the quality of players in the championship. Um, like they tried it against City and got absolutely like run over. I think we probably put 6 or 7 past them. Like it's just you basically have to have two separate teams. You have to have a team that's good enough to win the championship, and the way you have to play to win that. And then you need that team to, within a summer turn around and be able to, fend off a Liverpool and Arsenal. Arsenal just tied it up.
Oh, no doubt.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations on that. That's a huge
Thanks.
point for you guys if you can hold on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you have to be able to hold off an attack like a Liverpool, an Arsenal, a City, a Chelsea. Even kind of the mid-table teams like a Villa, a Forest, Brighton. Like there's just that gap, that difference in quality is just so insane, and part of it is that the Premier League teams, kind of the established Premier League teams, can afford to bring in a 30 or 40 million pound guy every summer or every window, and really not be at risk of any like PSR or FFP stuff. Or it's a lot harder for a championship team to bring in enough of those players,
Right.
and do it now financially like correctly. It's a tough balance. And the other thing is you don't want to. Now, mind you, Forest have it took them a few years to get it right, but like Forest used to sign like 40 guys a transfer window. Like
Yeah.
that was the way to do it. Fulham, when they were kind of in a yo-yo spot, that's what they were doing. It was like just bringing in a full 11 of guys and basically throwing what at the wall and seeing what stuck.
Yeah.
A lot harder to do that now with financial regulations, and it's just really not a sustainable way to run a club. So I think there's a lot of things that go into it, but I also think that some of those championship teams like can come up and play decent football, and like look at the teams that are outside the relegation zone right now. Like it's like Spurs and United are the two teams 17th and 16th, which is, I know it warms my heart and I know it warms yours too.
Yeah. Yes and no because of what we're going to talk about later. But
Well,
yes,
yeah,
I don't.
just in terms of the Premier
I,
League, just in terms of the Premier League.
I know.
Um, like we see how poor they are. Like United have 10 wins all year.
Tottenham
Like
have 20 losses now. By the way, after today, just want to make
yeah,
that point. 20
yeah,
losses. That is relegation form in a regular season. Like in a normal year, that's relegation form.
and that's kind of what I mean. Is like so 40 points is kind of like the magic number to survive in the
Yeah.
Premier League, and like Spurs and United with 2 games to go. Sorry, don't have those. They still don't have 40 points, and there's a chance that they don't hit 40 points.
Yeah, there is a chance because they just rest for those 2 games to focus on what's upcoming for them. But yeah, the gap unfortunately is a little bit too big. I think to your point about finances from championship to Premier League, I think that is a contentious point. I know that there's some talking points right now about parachute payments and these sorts of things. I don't know if that solves problems. I would imagine that it would alleviate some stress and help those teams coming up. But I do hope that whatever 3 teams, we know 2 of them coming up to the Premier League next year, but the 3 teams coming up, I hope that they can make it a little bit more competitive so we don't see 3 up, 3 down again. And in the Bundesliga, just like the Premier League, it has its winner, and that has been confirmed. And that, of course, is Bayern Munich. Bayern will they win the title with a pair of games to spare, as Leverkusen can no longer mathematically keep themselves in the title race. Bayern lifted the title at the time of recording yesterday. Bayern, Premier League, not Premier League, excuse me, Bundesliga champions. And what are your thoughts on that?
I can't believe Harry Kane finally has a trophy.
Finally,
That's
trophy.
I felt so bad for him. It was last weekend when they were basically like they were about to win their game to win the league, and I want to say they were playing Leipzig,
I think so. They ended up tying it, didn't they?
like a 95th minute equalizer to like stall them, and like Harry Kane wasn't on the field, but he was like, in his tracksuit ready to go on the touchline, and then they got the equalizer scored on them. I'm happy for Harry Kane. I think not that he needed a major title to kind of solidify himself as one of our generation's best players, and for England one of their greatest players of all time. But having a major trophy, and playing such a pretty crucial role in it as well, with all the goals he's scored. I think he currently leads the Bundesliga in goals and goal contributions for the league, and I don't think he's going to be overtaken. So yeah, it's huge for him. It's a great moment, and for Bayern, it's, I want to say, kind of back to normal. It's the last couple seasons have been a little, either them not winning the title or they've been a little nervier winning the title than we're used to seeing. But seeing them wrap it up with a handful of games to spare, not really pressed when it came to the end of the season. It's a little more back to quote unquote normal for them. Not the best for football fans, but in the end, it ends up as a pretty convincing win, Bundesliga win, and for Vinny Company in his first season at Bayern Munich. It's wild to go from he was managing in Belgium, or I think he was player manager at Anderlecht, to
Yeah.
Burnley, guiding them to the Premier League, to now winning a Bundesliga with Bayern Munich in his first season. It's pretty mediocre rise for him. So just kind of a lot of good stories to come about from that title.
Yes, and I would echo those statements. One, for obviously Bayern Munich. Second, Vinny Company, to your point. Harry Kane, third. And I'd like to give one more in there, Thomas Mueller. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, so he had a brilliant send off yesterday. Such a humble servant of that club. Again, you want to talk about consistency with a player in our generation. He's done it all in football. So a tip of the cap to him as well. But above all, a tip of the cap to Bayern Munich for being Bundesliga champions. In Spain, Barcelona and Real Madrid continue to duke it out for the title, but that fight is just about over. It's Barcelona sitting in first after their match against Real Madrid today, where Barcelona came out on top. They now have a 7 point gap at the top of the table. Gitano, Barcelona, it's one hand firmly on the trophy. They got fingertips of their other hand on the trophy. Surely it's theirs within the next game week or so.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it wasn't the mathematical title decider, but today was basically it. Um, and for Barcelona to get this El Clasico victory so late in the season, given the circumstances of the title race, it's just absolutely massive for them. Uh, I don't want to say they won't slip up, but I don't see it happening with just how few points they need, and the games left in hand for them. I think it's basically all but theirs.
Yep, totally agree with that. And we'll keep everybody updated as to when that trophy is lifted by Barcelona. Oh, in Italy, Serie A, Napoli lead the way by 3 points over second place Inter. Napoli has 77 points and Inter has 74 points. In third is Atalanta with 68 points. The fight for the final Champions League place is contested between Juventus and Lazio, who have 64 points each. Gitano, 3 match weeks to go here in Serie A, and it's advantage Napoli at this moment in time by very fine margins.
Yeah, those couple of drop points, or the couple of losses by Inter, the to Bologna and to Roma, just absolutely heartbreaking for them. Even if they picked up a handful of points in there, to at least be a little bit closer. Currently, right now, technically tied on points, but they have a game in hand. Like, the game that they're playing is in hand.
Yeah.
But I just look at this Napoli team, and I just don't see how they lose. Like, they're just incredible. And as fantastic as Inter are, because don't get me wrong, they're also incredible. I don't see Napoli dropping points for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you and me both. And as we're going to touch on here very shortly, Inter has another matter to focus on. So I am with you. I don't see Napoli dropping any more points. And I think that the title soon enough will be theirs. And in France's Ligue 1, it is coming to its inevitable end with just one match week remaining. PSG, of course, have been champions for quite some time. The likes of Marseille and Monaco, they will get Champions League football next season no matter what happens on the final match day. They've secured second and third place, respectively. Nice, Lille, Strasbourg, and Lyon will all fight it out for the remaining European places. G, still some things to play for in France.
Yeah, pretty wild to have the three teams currently in those last European spots all on 57 points, and Lyon just behind them, only 3 points behind. It doesn't look like any of them play each other in the last match week, which would have been like fireworks. That would have been so good. But still, there should be some incredible football played out in France, kind of for this last week, and some like really important football for a lot of these teams. You know, for a team like Strasbourg to potentially be playing European football is to be huge for them.
Absolutely huge, and we'll keep an eye on that race for all of those European places. The FA Cup semifinals are done and dusted, and we will take you through the results here and now. In the first semifinal, it was Crystal Palace who took very little room for doubt in the FA Cup final. Gitano was an outstanding performance from Crystal Palace, and Aston Villa truly just didn't do the business on the field. Break this one down for us.
Yeah, I was extremely shocked about this result. I thought the game would be a lot closer in terms of scoreline, and also like even if you look at the advanced stats, I really thought it would be a lot closer. But Palace absolutely played them off the park. Obviously, so Eberechi has a what a goal that was at Wembley. Like just you want to talk about like dream goals that you want to score on big stages. Like that is right up there. And to do it at Wembley in an FA Cup semi-finals, huge for them. And then sorry to get the brace, huge. But yeah, they just absolutely crushed uh, uh, Aston Villa. Like just, and you look at the stats, like Villa had more possession and more shots. Only one more shot on target, but no big chances created. Um, you know, fewer accurate passes. Like just really didn't. You can have the ball all you want, but if you don't do anything with it, Palace didn't have the ball as much, and when they did have it, they just made Villa pay. It was like I said, just shocking. I really thought this game would be a lot closer, a lot tighter, um, but Palace just undeniable performance from them. Huge for them as a club. I don't remember the last time they were in a cup final. It's been
I don't remember.
I'm trying to think. I got like maybe like early 20 teens, maybe.
Maybe.
Like, so this is huge for them as a club, for the fan base, and in just in the fashion that they did it as well, was super convincing, extremely impressive, and has me very worried about the final.
We're gonna. I can understand that because Crystal Palace have been playing very good in the competition. But let's touch on the other semifinal for Manchester City facing the FA Cup on the line. After an early goal from City, they would plug away at things until they were able to notch a second, and in the end, that's all that they really needed. A solid Manchester City performance would see them win by a score of 2-0 and subsequently go through to the FA Cup final. Gitano, I really did think that your Manchester City were really, really good in this game, and that Nottingham Forest did not have any answers or any solutions to the problems that they faced. So I'm going to hand it over to you, sir.
Well, man of the match was the woodwork for City. I think Forrest hit it 3 or 4 times. Morgan Gibbs White hitting it a handful of times just on his own. Definitely helped us out. But yeah, when you look, City it was the exact opposite of what I just talked about with the Villa and Palace game. Like City had a bunch of possession, but they used the ball. They were poking and prodding. They had shots. They had chances. They created chances. Whereas Forrest kind of sat in and tried to hit on the counter. Didn't really get as many opportunities as probably they were expecting on the counter. City have kind of sorted that out in the last couple weeks, maybe a month, compared to what you saw in like November, December, where we were just getting torn apart. So City looked a little better, and I just don't think Nottingham Forest's game plan really came to fruition. But also, if the ball's a couple inches either side of the post on a couple of opportunities, it's a totally different game too. So it's definitely like a game of inches there. But I would say for the most part, City dominated, and probably I would say rightfully go through again. Like
I think.
when you have your woodwork hit 4 times in a match, like it's really hard to be like, oh, we definitely deserved to go through, but like as close as we could get, I think deserved.
The only reason I say that, Nottingham Forest didn't have many solutions to the problems that they face. City had so much of the ball. They created a lot of chances themselves. I don't think that City were super clinical in front of goal, but the games are won and lost in both boxes, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's why I say finding solutions to problems. The solution is to put the ball in the back of the net. City did that twice to Nottingham Forest not doing it at all. So I think just with the slip ups that Nottingham Forest have been having in this little back half of the season here, I think for that reason alone, in that game particularly, I think Manchester City deserved to go through. So to review our picks, Gitano, we both go 1 for 2. We picked City correctly. We underestimated Palace, perhaps even if just a little bit. So it'll be a cup final contested between Crystal Palace and your Manchester City. What do you think about that, my friend?
Terrifying.
Hmm.
Palace have just been like a bogey team for City for literally as long as I have been watching City. They've just
Selhurst.
been. Oh, I just hated Selhurst Park, man. Who was the Serbian like DM Milivojevic?
Yeah.
Just like clinical from the penalty spot, and we always gave up a penalty there, like every time. Um, you know, Wilf Zaha just like terrorized us. Like just as long as I've been a City fan, Palace have just been a nightmare to play against. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. It's gonna be a really really nervy 90 or probably 120 minutes. I'm confident but scared.
Well, luckily for you, anyways, the game's being played at Wembley. But regardless, we are looking forward to one heck of an FA Cup final. And that FA Cup final, of course, will take place on Saturday, May 17th. And in our next episode of Full Time, we will preview that cup final for you all. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you are listening to the Full Time Podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker, easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Moving along, it is the Champions League who has its semifinals that have come to a close, and the finalists are now confirmed. We will take you through the journey of each semifinal here and now. We look into first the semifinal, which took place between Inter and Barcelona. Some are calling it the greatest semifinal in Champions League history, and whether that is believed to be true or not, there is no denying that this tie was an all-time classic. After the first leg ended 3-3 in a ruckus affair of flair, tenacity, technical quality, skill, and individual brilliance, it was the second leg that was even more captivating. Inter found themselves up by 2-0 going into halftime, making it 5-3 on aggregate. But a response from Barcelona, seeing them score 2 goals in the space of 6 minutes, would bring things level at 2 apiece and 5-5 on aggregate. In the 87th minute, what looked to be a match-winning goal from Barcelona's Rafinha would be cancelled out in the 3rd minute of stoppage time by Inter, making the game 3-3 and 6-6 on aggregate. Thus, this game would need extra time to solve matters, and in the 9th minute of extra time, it was Davide Frattesi of Inter who secured the all-important goal that would decide things and ultimately send Inter through to the Champions League final. Inter booked their place in Munich as they win an enthralling tie by an aggregate score of 7-6. Gitano, this tie left everyone breathless, and my only regret is that I was only able to watch the second half of these games, but I am very much looking forward to hearing your opinion on this tie.
So I didn't pay attention to the highlights at all. Like as the game happened, I was like, I want to go home and I want to watch it because the first leg was just electric. It was so good. I'm like, this like I can't just like see the score on Twitter. Like I need to like see this happen. So I get home and I throw the highlights on and I'm watching, and like it starts off Inter kind of dominating. Well, yeah, this is pretty much par for the course. Like what I kind of expected to happen. Barcelona do the comeback again because the same thing happened in the first leg. Inter went up and Barca came back. I could not believe like when it got to the Rafinha highlight, I was like, oh wow, like Barcelona through, like that's incredible, so good. I was like my jaw was on the floor watching like the it was like Cherby who scored the equalizer if I remember correctly.
Right?
Why was he in the box in the 95th minute? I didn't realize he had the legs to get there. I didn't know he knew how to get there. He's
Yeah.
like, what, a 36, 37-year-old center back?
37-year-old center back, but you know what that is? That's this right here.
Oh,
Being
100%.
I know where I need to be at this moment, or just having a where to be. But anyways,
Just brilliant. But yeah, and then the Fratesi winner is just, especially like in the San Siro, like such a historic stadium for one of the greatest ties, like just outright in Champions League history, whether semifinal, final, whatever, like quarterfinal, one of the greatest ties of all time to happen in San Siro like that, for Inter to score that late winner. Just like, and we've talked about like we're romantics for like, the game, like that was the beautiful game at its absolute peak. It was so good. And like it sucks for Barcelona because they played so well. They've had such a fantastic season. It sucks for them to go out in that fashion, but for Inter to get that win is just magnificent. It was brilliant. A real loss for words for just how pretty much perfect that tie was.
yeah, monumental in so many respects, and again, lost for words because that semifinal, excuse me, gave us absolutely everything over two legs, and commiserations, of course, to Barcelona, but a tip of the cap to Inter. Just brilliant, brilliant stuff all the way around. And in the second semifinal, it was PSG up against Arsenal. After a controlled PSG performance in the first leg put them out in front by a score of 1-0. It was the second leg that proved to be all decisive for PSG, as they would also win that one in the second leg by a score of 2-1 and thus 3-1 on aggregate. PSG booked their place in the Champions League final. Gitano, PSG, they absolutely earned their way through this tie to the final over two legs against Arsenal, excuse me. And there's no doubt in my mind that PSG deserved to go through, but I'll ask here for your thoughts and opinions, sir.
Yeah, like I've done for most of, well, for pretty much all of Arsenal's Champions League run, I'll just kind of keep it brief and then hand it off to you. But yeah, I think PSG, for how young that group is and how kind of fresh they are to, again, as this group being fresh to these moments, just like an extremely professional performance over two legs. I was really impressed by that. After the first leg, I thought, like going back to Paris, like obviously it's somewhat an advantage. Well, not somewhat. It's a pretty big advantage playing the second leg at home. But
Yeah,
I thought, maybe the moment I get to these players, you might see them, kind of a little too jittery, a little too like into it, make some mistakes. But they looked really, really professional. And I thought Arsenal's kind of lack of tooth up front, like just, you know, are they gonna is the board going to regret maybe not getting an extra forward in January, or making the move last summer? Like, I don't know. I thought Arsenal, they looked good, but they just didn't create enough and weren't clinical enough. And with a professional performance like that from PSG, they really, I don't want to say they didn't stand a chance, but it was just a real uphill battle from Arsenal. And just a really, really well done job by PSG.
I think Arsenal will look back at a lot of things. We as fans look back at the two failed transfer windows this summer and then again in January. I think that's where it all kind of starts. But if you're just specifically looking at the tie in the first leg, I think that the tactics from Arsenal weren't right. They went for too much control. And I think that being at home, they probably should have put their foot on the gas a little bit more. They played far too reserved. I understand that you leave yourself open and susceptible to counterattacks and things like this, but when you're at home, you're almost willing to take that risk. Arsenal didn't do it. Second leg coming out, Arsenal's first 10 minutes blew me away. They were amazing. But when you get clear cut chances in front of goal, when you're 6 yards out, 8 yards out, 10 yards out, if you don't put the ball in the back of the net, a team like PSG is going to punish you. So Arsenal had the chances. They didn't make the most of them. And then when they found themselves down 1-0, for me, on that bus ride that I was on, going down to coach in a soccer tournament, I knew it was over from there. So there's a lot of issues at play. Arsenal season done and dusted, but you do have to give a lot of credit to PSG because they were very good over two legs and they were the better team, and the better team did go through. And as a fan, I can hold up my hands to that. So to review our picks, Gitano, you picked both of these spot on, and I picked the exact opposite. So a big congratulations to you on that. The Champions League final is set. It will be Inter Milan up against PSG. And in a future episode of Full Time, we will preview the biggest game of the year for you all. And looking into the Europa League, those semifinals are also complete, which means that the final is set and ready to go as well. Uh, Club winning going to is a club.
Thoroughly disappointed. I thought it could have been one of the kind of best of the rest teams in Spain, I'll say, for the last probably almost a decade now. Never quite like title challengers, but always kind of in European places, always up there, kind of being able to be competitive with Barcelona, Real Madrid, in their individual games, maybe not over the course of a season. Um, and for a United side, that's probably the worst I've seen in my lifetime in terms of like on the pitch, in the table, like just kind of everything around it is just the worst. For them to give up 7 against that United team um, is honestly just embarrassing. It's like I've got no real words. I didn't think United were capable of scoring 7 goals for the rest of the season, if we're gonna be totally honest. Um, just from an athletic club standpoint, just unacceptable at really every level. I can't imagine a top 4-ish like Premier League side losing 7-1 over 2 legs to a nearly relegated Spanish team. Like it's just it would be like I'd be calling for the manager's head, the owners, the players, like everyone. Like that is just entirely unacceptable.
Yeah, unacceptable is the word without question. I was thoroughly disappointed because this wasn't competitive in the slightest, and I knew that it was over after the first leg. So, yeah, really disappointed. But United get through somehow, some way, and like you said, for them to score 7 goals is unimaginable, really. But regardless, here we are. And Tottenham got the better of Bodo Glimt, winning both of their legs for an aggregate score of 5-1. Gitano, Tottenham get through to the final. But first, your thoughts on this tie here between Spurs and Bodo Glimt.
Um, I mean, like this one feels a little more reasonable considering who Spurs were playing. Bodo Glimt really, shocking the world by beating Lazio in the quarterfinal. I couldn't have told you that that club existed before then. Um, so for Spurs to kind of pound them a little bit makes it feels a little more acceptable. Um, but again, I'm also like shocked Spurs were able to score 5 goals. I'm more shocked that Spurs only conceded one,
Right.
considering just how awful their defensive situation is. Um, but yeah, this is like slightly less embarrassing if you're Bodo Glimt. They got a European semifinal, um, and they lost a Premier League team barely. And any other season Spurs might genuinely have been relegated, but um, it's a little less embarrassing for Bodo Glimt and a little it's a slightly like easier pill to swallow, but still not happy about it.
And you think back to the top of our show, Gitano talked about the likes of United, Spurs not even having 40 points. One of these two are going to win a European trophy. And for football reasons, I think that that is a disgrace. But, as an Arsenal fan, given the season that we've had, we're going to walk away with nothing. So on a normal episode, I'm letting both of these teams have it. And it would have lessened the blow, honestly, if Arsenal made the Champions League final. But I know as a fan right now, I really can't say too much. So all we can really say is that Tottenham and Manchester United are in a European Cup final. We obviously both picked these incorrectly, Gitano, but the kind of unwanted and unthinkable sort of happened. United and Tottenham, and what are your thoughts on that? Because I really don't. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
I mean, the best case scenario in this is both teams are absolutely awful, and it's an entertaining game for the neutrals, as it's going to be like a 7-8 final. Because neither team can defend if their lives depended on it. Um, but like yeah, like I don't I that's I'm looking at it like I don't know what's worse.
Yeah,
Like I like United winning is awful, but Spurs winning is like equally awful. Just literally the entire footballing world, bar the fan base that wins that, loses.
yeah,
Like typically, like if this was like any other, Frankfurt and Roma, Europa League final, like whatever. I don't really care either way. I'd prefer one over the other. Like a little bit, but like nobody would like really truly care. This feels like the entire footballing world is like, why? Like like
Exactly.
like why? Like this like the whole competition for the year is just an absolute waste.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be totally honest.
Yet here we are. We have to accept it, and we will, just like the Champions League, preview this game for you all in an upcoming episode. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to the Full Time Podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker, easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars, and be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we bring today's show to a close, we want to extend our greatest thanks to all of you for tuning in. Gee, another great one today, my friend. Well done.
Absolutely, well done to you as well. Is that Arsenal result full time yet, or?
To be perfectly honest, I didn't even have it uploaded here on my screen. I'm gonna check right now. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you.
Oh, they literally.
So yes, a Champions League play, despite the fact that hasn't been the greatest of endings to the season, but it is what it is. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of May 12th, 2025. In that show, we will take a look at the FA Cup final, which we'll preview for you all, the Conference League final, which we will preview for you all, the MLS, and local soccer. As always, we'll keep everyone in the loop with all of the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms of 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Podbean, and Spaces at suittoday.com. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. Look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Full Time Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.